Yeah. Growing up for me was like, I mean, for just like for many people, I found myself that I'm a human being, and I saw that okay, being a human being, I have uncles, I have father, I have mother, I have aunt, I have grandmother, I have grandparents, and all that. So I found myself when I had sense to really identify who I am. I was in the village at that point, and you know, I was going to the school. I was in the village, my village, maternal side, Okorofanti precisely. I was there, and I was exposed to the world at that level, and I saw leadership from the home front, from the forefront. I saw school leadership. I saw church leadership. I saw a whole lot in the society. I was paying attention to patterns. At a tender age, had already started asking fundamental questions regarding ironies of life. Questions like why are people poor? Why are people enlightened? Why are people rich? Why are people suffering health issues and all of that? Why are some people so short, then some people are so tall? Too many questions. Some people fairly look good and some people look poorly bad. So a lot of these questions arose out of my curiosity as a child growing up. And when you ask these questions, you are faced with the reality of people around you not being able to attend to those questions because they feel like you ask too many questions. Why are you too inquisitive? So that instead I shut up, your own is too much or like that. Then along the line, I had to evolve to begin to find some of the answers for myself. I think for me, that's what propelled me from my upbringing, prepared me from childhood to start thinking more, thinking, doing, get involved with people, getting to learn, study them, study the world, even paying attention to what I have no business with. So, for instance, if our neighbor is fighting, if I hear husband and wife fighting, as a child in the next compound, I will pay attention to the fight. Not because I want to see chaos, but I want to understand why is this man and woman always fighting. And for as a child, when I look at the scenarios that led to the fight, you see it's basic miscommunication, it's basic misunderstanding. It is even lack, financial lack. It is somebody not taking responsibility when they should. It is somebody not even understanding the next party. It is even a bunch of people who are very much incompatible that found themselves together. So I paid attention to all of that, and I observed, I saw a whole lot. So growing up for me was a mix of being here and there, living with uncle, father, this grandfather, this. I mean, it's a bit of movement, but along the line, I decided that I was going to have a flow instead of movement. So I decided to design a flow for myself, flowing from purpose, flowing from potential, through possibilities, and I mean, looking forward to manifestation. So that was growing up for me. So I'm an embodiment of challenges. When you see me, all you have seen is difficulty, multi-dimensional difficulties. When you see me, you see malevolence, you see wickedness, someone who has survived wickedness at the highest level. You see someone who has survived maltreatment at the highest level. When you see me, like I said, the simple way to put it is to say challenges, multi-dimensional challenges. I've gone through a whole lot in life, and I found out that the mother was married to someone else, and father was married to someone else. So I had to be that child that's in between. We are neither here or there. If you go to this place, you don't belong there. If you go to this place, you don't belong there. And you literally just discover that you don't have a home, even when physically it appears that you have a home. You don't belong anywhere, So you have to literally survive. So I had to devise mechanism for my own survival. That's why I said from the existing patterns, I have to create my own pattern because it was evident that the challenges that I was facing weren't going to disappear soon. So I saw that, okay, if you don't have this in place, you don't have this in place, you have this in place, nothing is going to change. Right. So if I live from the optimistic perspective, I was going to suffer more. But if I accept my challenge and face them to overcome them or to prepare for them, it will help me, to have a more predictable, favorable life. That was what I did. So the challenges I went through in life, I mean, if we want to talk about my challenges, I guess we'll dedicate like 5 years to have a continuous conversation or what the challenges are, even till date. But I mean, the beauty is that I'm a product of challenges, but then also that's why I'm here as a solution. I'm a complete solution. I've reversed the psychology, I reversed my reality, and I've turned all my challenges into a solution. So I met myself as a human being, as a curious, inquisitive child. That's how I met myself. Yeah. So meaning that that's my nature. I was already curious about a lot of things. I wanted to know everything at a tender age. So that was already myself. But I think the realities around me just awoken my spirit early because the life I had wasn't a conventional life. It was some kind of dramatic, filled with chaos and unfavorable rhythm. So it opened my eyes to observe things early. Right. So I think that's so I found myself as a thinker when I was asking, I think primary five thereabout. Yeah. I discovered at primary five that I'm a great thinker because when I was asking those questions about everything about life. So if I ask you a question, if you're a parent or a guardian or someone around me or who visited us, I'll ask you a question. So if you respond to that question, I was going to ask a follow up question. So in other words, we can start from a question and we end up about 20 questions. So when you're unable to provide those answers, it's either you run away or you give up. I will not give up on my question. Then the next thing, when I see that people don't like to answer those questions, they just like to cover it up. Yeah, something just to tell that you're a child, go and rest. So, and I discovered that okay, I started running through into the mind to see how I could find answers to these questions. This is when I discovered I was a thinker because at this point, each time I ran to the mind, I don't only find answers to a lot of questions, but I also find it comforting. So, part of my strategy to escape addictions in life, unwanted addictions, was also me running to the mind. So, same way I ran to music, that's how I ran to the mind to create my own addictions. I created my addictions, the addictions that are productive today. So, the music I do today came as me running into something. I needed a substance that is not a solid substance. So instead of taking smoking, drinking, getting addicted to vices, I decided I was going to create my own addiction. So I ran to music purposely for the purpose of being addicted to it so that I don't do drugs because my realities were so staggering. I ran to the mind thinking so that I don't do drugs because the reality I was facing was staggering. So as I got into created my own addictions, I just discovered that I was getting sucked into them and they were helping me while I was evolving and developing for my own greater good. So, I mean, that's how it was for me. So, that's why I said it's a bit of nature and a bit of nurture. It's more of nature at early stage. It was later that it became nurture. So, I found myself caring about what kids at my age wouldn't care about. I found myself observing, paying attention, and saying things that people at my age even people that were 10 years older wouldn't say. And even when they did, they would naturally ignore. For instance, a child that is 5 years, that is at primary five, might not be concerned about ironies of life. might not be concerned about why are people suffering? Why is there suffering? When they go to church, for instance, when they tell them that the reason people are suffering is because the man Adam sinned, which is the story that we got. Adam sinned, therefore God now said, okay, go to the world and you suffer, you labor before, That's why there's sickness, that's why there's death. So at primary five, I was already asking fundamental questions of why death, why suffering. The most catastrophic event as a child was attending a burial. That's what changed my life. So I think around primary five, I attended one of the burial in the village, and someone that we used to know. So the fact that we will never see this person again, the person is laid to rest, quiet, cold. Why people were, why the person was being dipped into the sand. Oh my God. Something triggered in me, and I was asking school, where was this person before he came here? Now that he's here, where is he going to now? So we are no more going to see this person. Then, based on the story that has been handed us by the religious story of creation, suffering, reward, and punishment, I was just imagining what awaits the person. If the person has lived a good life, okay, fair enough, we will be in heaven. If the person hasn't lived a good life, so the person is going to go into hell and start burning. So I was concerned, why will people go to hell? I was concerned about what hell looks like. I was preoccupied with the thought of heaven. I don't know. So it's because I was observing a lot of things as a child. I just wanted to know why a lot of things that they were saying. Okay, let me make it very simple for you. I think one of the reasons why I was so inquisitive or I wanted to know was because a lot of the stories didn't make sense to me, even at a tender age. At a tender age, the story that God created Adam and Eve, put them in the garden, he loved them so much, they are a representation of him, and he has made them like himself. And then he was just chilling, but watching them. Then the snake left. The snake that even asked Adam to name. Snake left and carried and went to meet the wife. Come and eat this thing. When you eat it now, you become like God, knowing good and evil. And God had earlier given an instruction that don't eat this, for the day you eat it, you shall die. And yet God put it in the garden. And God was watching while they were eating, but we were just waiting for them to eat. Then upon eating, truly, what the snake said to them, that when you eat it, you know good and evil. Upon eating, truly, they knew good and evil. So you want to ask, who was saying the truth there and who was lying? That's one. Then after they had ate it, God now showed up. And he now said, oh, because you have eaten this, this is your punishment. But God is omnipotent, omnipresent, all-knowing. Where was he when they were eating? Why did he not intervene prior to them eating or when the snake came to? And God is the owner of everything. So you now say that, okay, that's the reason why death happens. That's why people die. A lot of these stories were not adding up as a child. That's why I wanted to know. I wanted to know why people die. I told you, I went to burial and I saw how someone that used to be with us has gone and we weren't going to see this person. So I wanted to know where the person was going. Why do people have to die? And they said because of the sins that Adam committed, only God knows when, that everybody has to die. So I was paying attention to understand, is this actually because man sinned or this is just pattern rendition? This is just God's design. Obviously, I found out later that death is natural. Death is God design. It has nothing to do with sin. Debt is credit. Sorry, debt is debit in bank. In the bank, when you have debit in your account, that's debt. When you have credit, that is birth. That is what exactly we experience as human beings. When you are born, is credit. When you die, is debit. In construction, when a house is demolished, that is debt. That is debit. That's withdrawal. When a house is raised up, that's birth. So death and birth applies in everything, meaning that it has nothing to do with sin, has nothing to do with Adam, it has nothing to do with the story in the garden. So one, I don't have beliefs. I don't have beliefs. So that question might not be for me. But if you talk about what I'm inclined to or what I'm drawn to, right? So religious drawing, I'm drawn to tolerance. I do not have capacity to believe. I'm incapable of believing. I frown at belief. The whole of my essence frown at belief. Human beings should not be subjected to belief. They should know. When they can't know, or when they're unable to know, they should keep knocking the door of knowledge. They will know one day. If they can't know, let them just keep knocking. And whatever you can't know, just forget about it. Give yourself time, you'll still know. But whatever you can know should not resolve into believing. There's a clear cut. When you live, because you can't understand something, therefore you just accept it and go with everybody. No, I don't think we should believe. We are too much for that. We are just too big. We are just too big. We possess too much intellectual facility. We possess divine intelligence, awareness, consciousness. All these things shouldn't be jettisoned for just mere believing. So I don't have belief. I couldn't make a good believer, and that's why I would say that I'm not a good Christian. I'm not a good Christian because I couldn't make a good believer. I don't have facility enough in me to say I want to believe. If you give me a story, let me just believe it. I don't. I have to live the story. I have to experience it. I have to encounter it. I have to question it. So if a belief system, a religious belief system, already frown at questioning, or says that posits that God frowns at you asking question, it means that it's conditioning. It means that something is wrong somewhere. Do you get? If my hands are clean as a father, when I come in the house and you say, Daddy, where did you go to now? Where are you coming from? Or what's happening? How's your business? Daddy, where do you make all your money you're making from? If my business is clean, I should be able to tell you that, oh, I sell property. I invest, help people to invest. I have investment. I do this. I rent. I sell. I do this. I consult, and I take 10% off my consultation, no matter the volume or the value of the property. So imagine that I consult for a property of 1 billion. My percentage is 10%. How much is that? My child will help me calculate it. And when we calculate, we are done. Say, wow. So it's 100M. So you mean that if you consult for a 1 billion transaction right now, your is so after you, but that money still does not equate to having so much. Yes, when I take that 100M, I don't start spending it. I take 80% of it, and I invest in this. I should be able to show how I maximize, I make my money, how I invest it, how I'm able to. Do you get? So if I begin to frown out at my child asking me, wanting to know how I'm able to make so much, then it means that I have something I'm hiding. Said I'm a thief, I'm an armed robber, I'm into kidnapping. I'm doing something that is funny, that something that's illicit. Do you get? So the idea that when you ask questions well, I was born into a Christian home, so you can imagine. I was going to the church where we saw a lot, but when you ask questions, they always frown at those questions. Shut up! You are meant to believe. You're not meant to question because God does not like it. So God, who created us, cannot be somebody who frowns at questioning because the only way you can actually evolve to experience your fullest potential, it is when you ask questions. So God cannot frown at it. But I just answered that now. You don't get it. I said, okay, for instance, when I ask people why people die, they can't answer the question. And when I go to the Bible, for instance, to read why people die, what did I tell you happened? The story you're going to get is that people die because Adam and Eve sinned. That's the story in the Bible. Suffering, death is as a result of Adam and Eve sin that happened in the Garden of Eden while God was watching them. The disobedience of Adam and Eve is the reason why, since that day till today, people are still dying. It is the reason why people are suffering. It is the reason when a woman is pregnant, she has to go to labor. Right. So, at a tender age, these stories didn't resonate with me. That's what I'm saying. So, answering the question you just asked, at a tender age, when I go to see some of those answers in the Bible, which I was privy to being born into a Christian home, I couldn't resolve. The Bible couldn't even resolve my questions. satisfactorily. So do you understand? So I did go to check the Bible out, but a lot of the answers that it provided, a lot of the explanation of life. The Bible is a serious book of wisdom, coded, yeah, encoded, yeah. But then it didn't attend to the answers. And if at primary five I was not satisfied with a lot of questions, and at the age I am too, and a lot of these things that Bible could not resolve till today could not resolve it for me. You know that something's consistent somewhere. I offer what I call humanity in a glittering solid intellect. So what I offer to the world is not just Nigeria. What I offer to the world is an infrastructure that shows that the evolution of what it takes to be a human being made of humanity and not persons. I keep saying this. That's a summary of what I offer. It's so broad. But to summarize what I offer, what my philosophical inclination, offer to the world is basically to provide the world with an infrastructure or a system or an innovation that will show the people the evolution of what it takes to be a human being made of humanity and not persons. And this is to say that through philosophy, I am here to educate humanity that we are actually not divided, we are not separate. Everything that separates us are false. All that we have that separate us are artificial walls. The true essence of us is that we live together, that we are from the same source, that there's no difference. Nobody's black, nobody's white. Because we lack understanding and we need to be able to place class on something. We need to be able to define something. That's why we say this is black, this is white. But at the end of the day, we are just the same people. A man and a woman has no difference. A woman is a man is a woman. The difference is that one has a womb, and that person should be called womb man. One person has the placenta, is the one that gives the placenta. That person is called the man. So the man with the sperm, the man with the gift of placenta is the man. The one with the portal of life, the one with the womb is called the womb man. Is a man is a man, a woman is a man. But they were designed to complement one another. It is when the two come together that there's wholeness, they're complete. Without the two, they're incomplete. So that's how humanity works at all levels. Without you, there's no me. Without me, there's no you. We all are the same. So that's my infrastructure. I believe that the era we are is not where philosophy becomes theoretical, where people just be writing and they will just be reading this is what philosophers said 5,000 years ago and all that. I think that's not the era we are. We are in the era whereby we cannot integrate philosophy with technology, philosophy with arts, philosophy with serious conversation. This is what I'm offering to the world. So, through my innovations, through my philosophy, through my quality thinking, I am here to show the world that we are simply made of humanity and not persons. And this you can find in the Logic Republic music album. This you can find in Logic Republic book, which shall be coming out shortly. This you would find out by next year when a technological product that we have is will drop. This technology will change humanity for good all over the world. Yeah, so what I have learned over the years is that we exist in different forms and for one purpose. So what I have done over the years is that I'm able to separate myself. If you look at me critically, I think I'm the only person in the world who bears three names, who live in three different worlds altogether as one. So I'm Logic. That's a different person. I am Salogic. Salogic is a different person from Logic. And I am Logic Republic. That's a different person. I am also Brain Logic. The person you are dealing with is Brain Logic. You're not dealing with any of these entities I've mentioned. So growing up, I had to evolve and discover that for me to be express my God power, I would need to be transformed into three or four different personalities, but all working together as one. Do you get? So early, I became Logic first. Logic being the artist, being the musically inclined person. Later on, I became Sir Logic. Sir Logic becoming the person with the destiny, the humanist, the person who's here to make the world a better place. Along the line, after these two entities have existed and I discovered that they weren't making sense, there was no support. So we came together to create the third part of us, which is Brain Logic. Brain Logic now becoming the business entity, the value creation entity, the money spinning machine. Now, upon the creation of Brain Logic had to go out there, create value, and come back to use the resources to give Logic a voice, to give Sir Logic a voice. Do you get? So, and along those journeys, we also had Logic Republic, which is now the ideal world, how we envisage the world to be. So, standing out as a musician and also as a philosopher is easy for me because music is just one part. Philosophy is also one part. Music is the tool through which we communicate the philosophy. Do you get the idea? So without the philosophy, there will be no music. Without me writing, without philosophy, there will be no me writing. So the idea that when people say that, okay, are you a musician or you are a writer? I write, but I don't see myself as a writer. I sing, I produce music. I don't see myself as a musician, even though the definition of somebody who makes music and plays certain instrument is called a musician, but I'm not in terms of professionally. I'm trained to do so, but it's not. If you describe me as a musician, then you're not doing justice to who I am because it's not music that I'm here to do. It is not writing that I'm here to do. What I'm here to do is what I've told you. So, by destiny, by design, I am destined to be a philosopher. I am destined to be a humanist. These are my offices. When you call me by those things, then you're referring to me. Humanist, Godist, yes. Polythinker. Polythinker is someone who thinks for people and creates platform for people to think. That's a polythinker. It's different from a thinker. So you can think and be thinking for your pocket. You can just think and just think for a product to make business and make your money and become a billionaire, right? That's a thinker as well, right? But a polythinker, that's who I am. A polythinker is someone who think for people or think or create platforms for people to think, just like what I'm doing with Logic Republic. That's what a polythinker is. So I am a godist first, a humanist number two, polythinker three, fundamental scientist. Yeah, it's a new branch of science that I'm bringing out. It's science that deals with what is not physical. It's a way of explaining the universe from a point that is immaterial. So, and it's in the book Logic Republic. So, fundamental science is there. Then and what I call alternative historian. I'm here as a historian, but I'm providing an alternative history. So, whatever you know already, which makes up the history of the world, I'm here to counter them. So, these are the five things that you can identify me with. But music is one of the medium through which I communicate these ideas. Writing is one of the medium that I communicate. So coexisting is easy because my music is tied to not business or a mere performance. My music is tied to purpose. Do you get it? My music is tied to the philosophy. So because philosophy is there, if I can't carry philosophy and deposit in your head, I must find, because philosophy is at the highest level, I must find something that is low vibration, low frequency, to convey the philosophy before you can get people to come to that high level. Because where you are, many people might not be there at a point. And if you're waiting for everybody to be at that wavelength before you can get your message, that means you're not going to communicate anything. Do you understand? So that's why I'm simplifying. Even if I have I'm coming from a philosophical background, but I'm simplifying my solutions that in the way that everybody can come in terms with. So music is one of the medium. It's easy, everybody can understand. If I say let's unite, you will understand. If I begin to speak some English now, and I'm talking about unity, it might be just so it might not do the job. So I believe that music can coexist peacefully with philosophy. Art can coexist, and art is one of the truest form of expression. It's the only way that humanity can experience authenticity at the highest level. As a scientist, whatever you don't discover, someone else will discover it. In art, the reverse is the case. Whatever you don't create, no one else will ever create it. If Two Face did not sing African Queen, nobody else will ever sing it till the end of the world. Nobody else will bring out African Queen. If you sing African Queen, it will be entirely different from what Two Face sang. It is a form of the highest authenticity. If you don't create it, no one else can create it. It's God power at the highest level. It's God power. That's what art is. So whatever I sing, if I don't sing it, no one else will sing it. You can see from the songs that right. You can see some of the songs there. Everybody's here now. We are all experiencing how how messed up Nigeria is. Why has somebody not sang "Man Know Thyself"? Why has someone not sang "Humanity"? Why if I don't do it, no one is going to do it. If they don't do it, nobody, even me, I can't do it. So art is something that is very instrumental to the human development. And that's why I've found a way to ensure that it coexists with my philosophy. And I think that is great for what we're about to do.